Things happening right now. The numbers start to roll in pretty soon. Whether or not we'll have an answer tonight could depend on who knows what, any state. Apparently, look down the list, there's still toss-ups around there. So let's bring in Dryden Pence, Chief Investment Officer at Pence Capital Management. Dryden, one thing that the market might depend on, though, over the short term, from what I understand, is whether or not we actually get a solution. So it seems like there's levels of expectations the market might have, and the kind of top, most basic one is whether or not we get an answer. So if we don't have one tonight, our market's going to be worried. We're going to have tension and selling.
Well, you're right. We're about 180 minutes away from the first closing. And the most important thing about this election is that it's going to be over. Now, the question is it over tonight or tomorrow or the next day? And we think that it's going to be a lot closer than some of the people are thinking. So this is one of these moments where the market kind of rose on a idea that we'd have a clear winner very, very quickly. And I think this turns into one of these moments that if it's bad news for Donald Trump, we probably know that pretty quickly because some of those key states will get results of North Carolina back pretty quick. We'll get results in Florida, and we'll get results in Georgia back pretty quick. So it's bad news for Trump. We'll kind of know that fairly quick. If it's bad news for Biden, then we may not know that for several days. You probably won't finish counting votes in Pennsylvania until the 9th. And so this long, drawn-out period of time, if that's what happens, then all we have to do is look back to the year 2000. You had about a 12% decline in the market while we went through this uncertainty. So that's difficult because if the market's gone up recently over the idea that we would get a clear winner or there'd be a blue wave or whatever there is, and then now that's in doubt, and then now it gets to a prolonged moment, then I think we can see some volatility come back into the market, casting some doubt on what the final outcome is. And we could have some volatility. And we think volatility is an opportunity. We want to take advantage of it, not be its victim. Mm-hmm. But I think that's the real key measure. So we're within a couple of hours, sometime tonight, we're going to probably know whether this is a short answer or a elongated one. And an elongated one will probably put some volatility back into this market for the rest of this week because Pennsylvania, which is going to be key in this if for a Trump victory from what we think, probably they won't finish counting votes till the 9th or something like that. So that could be a difficult moment. Okay, so knowing whether or not we get someone is level one, level two, it seems like with anything else, like a stock that's expecting big earnings that are consensus, it's a question of living up to expectations. Seems like generally from polling and from the market makers too, we should expect Joe Biden to win. So does that mean that markets sell off if that consensus is not reached? Is this a sell a Trump victory market? Is it buy a Trump victory dip if that happens again? I think it probably turns into a buy a dip if we have volatility. But what's really important is trying to recognize that nobody's going to cancel Christmas because their guy didn't win the presidency. Whether it's a Biden presidency or a Trump presidency, Christmas is still coming. And so if there is volatility around a elongated election, I won't say it a contested one, but just a elongated solution. Okay, some of the froth we've seen in the market lately may come out. We may have a few days here of some volatility. And when we do, then you have to everybody's going to be wondering, what do I do next? Well, in our view, the thing to do next is kind of do the no matter what stuff. The companies that are going to do well no matter what. Like I said, nobody's canceling Christmas because their guy didn't win the presidency. The American consumer is, if COVID-19 could not end the American consumer, neither can the president, no matter who he is. So we think that taking a look at those sectors of the economy make good sense if there is volatility and you want to take advantage of the volatility rather than be its victim. Those are the things to pay attention to. Okay. Dryden, are there specific then sectors, styles of investing? One of the examples around Biden has been the decriminalization of marijuana. We've seen some pot stocks moving. We've seen solar energy companies moving. I mean, do we go with that and ride that kind of thesis out if you're an investor and Biden wins? Because
the exact same story was about banks and energy companies with Trump wanted. Nope, that wasn't the trade the next 4 years.
Well, I think that you're going to have to, when you think about the cannabis stocks and things like that, those are going to be very specifically tied to a Biden win. And if that's the case, you probably are wise to kind of look at things shaking out here for a little while to make sure you understand what the rest of it is. Remember, you have a Senate race here that is going to be very important to policies, and we may not have all the answers on the Senate races yet. I mean, you could have a runoff in Georgia and not get an answer on those 2 Senate seats until sometime in January. So all of these things, if we get a somewhat of a contested, not necessarily contested, but a close election, some of these answers won't be as clear. So making big bets based on one agenda or the other is probably a little more risky than some people want to be right now. So again, let's take a look at the things that do both agendas, both parties. Okay. We're really working to figure out how can we get more income into the hand of low-wage earners. Both parties are looking at some form of stimulus once we get past all this electioneering that's gone on around it. And so companies and sectors that are focused on that will probably kind of do well, like we say, the no matter what trade. Now, again, that's I think the focus of where we need to be right now, and something that could be a little more dicey than people are thinking.
Okay, so constructive macro backdrop for equities as an asset class, maybe some short-term vol if we don't get that immediate answer, and be careful before betting the house on like a specific sector candidate trade. Dryden, thanks for the thoughts. Thanks for being here with us. Dryden Pence, Chief Investment Officer at Pence Capital Management.